Hey, you can't eat here. This meal service is for paying first-class passengers only. Flight attendant Bethany blocks the meal cart from seat 2A, her voice sharp with authority. She stares down at Jamal Washington like he's trespassing. You need to return to your actual seat in the back where you belong. Jamal sits calmly in first class, his boarding pass clearly showing 1A, first class. His tailored suit, expensive watch, and leather briefcase suggest anything but a coach. Bethany serves the white passenger across the aisle with a warm smile. Your meal, Mr. Stevens. Jamal's tray remains empty. Other passengers crane their necks. Phones start recording. The discrimination is blatant, public, deliberate. Have you ever been assumed to be somewhere you didn't belong, despite having every right to be there? What happened next would expose a system of bias that shocked an entire airline industry. Flight 447 to Atlanta. Service begins 45 minutes into the flight. The beverage cart rolls down the first-class aisle with military precision. Bethany's smile radiates warmth as she serves passengers in seats 1B, 1C, 1D. Champagne, premium water, fresh orange juice. The cart approaches Jamal's row. Bethany's expression shifts, cold, dismissive. She pushes past his seat without acknowledgement. Excuse me, Jamal says politely, raising his hand slightly. Could I get some water, please? Bethany turns, her face a mask of forced patience. We'll get to you when we can, sir. Her tone suggests he's already been a problem passenger for hours. She immediately serves the white businessman directly behind him. What can I get you, Mr. Patterson? Champagne? Sparkling water? The irony isn't lost on anyone watching. 3 phones are now recording discreetly. Head flight attendant Derek approaches 30 minutes later. He's tall, imposing, with silver hair that suggests authority. He whispers something to Bethany while both stare at Jamal like he's a suspicious package. Derek nods toward the galley. They retreat for a hushed conversation, pointing occasionally in Jamal's direction. The meal service begins at the 90-minute mark. A parade of gourmet options emerges from the galley. Grilled salmon with herb butter, prime beef tenderloin, vegetarian pasta with truffle oil, fresh Caesar salads, warm bread rolls. Every first-class passenger receives their choice of entree. The aroma fills the cabin. Conversations buzz with satisfaction over the quality. Jamal watches the cart approach his row. The attendant serving his section, a younger man named Kevin, reaches Jamal's seat and suddenly develops selective blindness. The cart rolls past without stopping. Excuse me, Jamal calls out calmly, his voice carrying just enough to be heard by nearby passengers. Kevin pretends not to hear. He's already placing a beautiful salmon dish in front of the passenger 3 rows back. The businessman in 1BA, middle-aged white man in an expensive suit, stops eating. He pulls out his iPhone, starts recording discreetly. The angle captures Jamal's empty tray table contrasted against the feast surrounding him. This is unbelievable, the woman in 2C whispers to her husband loud enough for others to hear. They're completely ignoring him. Her husband starts recording too. Honey, this is discrimination. Plain and simple. Derek returns with an official-looking clipboard, his expression serious, as if investigating a federal crime. Sir, we're going to need to verify your boarding pass and identification. Jamal looks up from his Financial Times. Is there a problem with my seat assignment? Just routine verification. We've had some irregularities with ticketing today. Derek's tone implies Jamal might be part of some elaborate fraud scheme. The request is absurd. No other passenger was asked for verification. Everyone knows it. Jamal produces his boarding pass without resistance. First class, properly purchased online 12 hours earlier. His name, Jamal Washington, matches his government-issued ID perfectly. Derek studies both documents like he's deciphering ancient hieroglyphics. He holds the boarding pass up to the light, checking for authenticity markers that don't exist on airline tickets. And your credit card, sir? I'm sorry? The credit card you used to purchase this ticket. We need to verify the transaction wasn't fraudulent. The cabin falls silent. Conversations stop mid-sentence. This is unprecedented territory. In 20 years of flying first class, no passenger has witnessed financial verification during flight. Jamal hands over his black American Express Centurion card, the invitation-only card reserved for individuals spending over $250,000 annually. Derek examines it like it might be an elaborate counterfeit. This will take several minutes to verify with our financial security team, he announces loudly enough for the entire first-class cabin to hear. He disappears into the cockpit, presumably to contact ground control for a credit check at 35,000 feet. The woman in 3AA young professional with 50,000 Instagram followers has started a live stream. You guys, something absolutely insane is happening on my flight right now. This black businessman in first class isn't being served food, and now they're treating him like a criminal. This is Skyline Airways Flight 447. Comments flood in immediately. WTF is happening? Is this 2024 or 1950? What airline is this? Name and shame. Someone's about to get sued. This is going viral. The stream reaches 1,500 viewers in 3 minutes. The algorithm is catching fire. Jamal sits quietly throughout the spectacle, occasionally glancing at his expensive Patek Philippe watch. His leather briefcase rests beside him, adorned with an embossed logo that remains partially obscured. Documents peek out, quarterly financial reports, board meeting agendas with confidential stamped in red. His phone buzzes constantly. Text messages. Board meeting moved to 3 p.m. Critical agenda items regarding Q4 performance. Sir, the shareholders are asking about the discrimination lawsuit settlements. Should we discuss? CFO needs approval on the 2.8 million bias training budget allocation. He types back carefully. Will be there. Currently experiencing an interesting real-time case study in customer service failures. Derek returns 22 minutes later, looking defeated. Sir, your card has been verified. He sounds genuinely disappointed that Jamal isn't a criminal. Excellent. May I please have my meal now? The same options offered to other first-class passengers? Derek's jaw tightens. We'll see what's available at this point in service. Bethany approaches with a single meal tray. It's the basic economy class meal, a sad turkey sandwich, stale chips, and a bruised apple. The kind of meal that costs $15 in coach. This is what we have remaining, she says, placing it down with obvious disdain. The businessman in 1B can't contain himself anymore. That's not what the rest of us were served. That's not even close. Bethany's professional mask slips completely. Sir, we ask that you don't interfere with our service procedures. This is between us and this passenger. The live stream explodes. 4,000 viewers now. Comments are furious. Lawsuit time! This is the most obvious discrimination I've ever seen. Someone tag every civil rights organization. RIP Skyline Airways stock price. Jamal's phone rings. The caller ID reads, Washington Holdings, Chief Financial Officer. He glances at it, then deliberately declines the call. Whatever business emergency requires his attention can wait. This situation has become far more educational than any board meeting. Flight time remaining, 1 hour, 30 minutes to Atlanta, the captain announces over the intercom. Bethany returns to collect the untouched economy meal 20 minutes later. Are you going to eat this or not? We need the tray back. I paid $1,247 for first-class service, Jamal says calmly, his voice carrying throughout the cabin. I'd like to receive the meal I purchased. This is what's available to you now. But not what was available to other first-class passengers who boarded the same flight with identical tickets. Bethany's face flushes red. Other passengers are openly staring now. The discrimination is impossible to deny. Sir, if you continue to be difficult and disruptive, we may need to involve federal air marshals and security upon landing. Is that what you want? The threat hangs heavy in the recycled cabin air. Other passengers exchange shocked glances. Several more phones emerge to document this escalation. Jamal reaches into his briefcase slowly, deliberately. His fingers brush against official documents bearing corporate letterheads and executive signatures. A quarterly board resolution from Skyline Airways, meeting minutes from the airline's executive committee, annual shareholder reports. His hand hovers over a document with his signature prominently displayed. He closes the briefcase without removing anything. "I understand completely," he says quietly, his voice carrying an undertone that makes Bethany's confident smirk falter slightly. The live stream hits 8,000 viewers and climbing. Flight time remaining, 1 hour, 15 minutes to Atlanta. The situation spirals beyond meal service. Jamal requests access to the first-class restroom. Bethany blocks his path. "Sorry, that facility is temporarily out of order." She gestures toward the back of the plane. "You can use the one in coach." The restroom door clearly shows "vacant" in green letters. Passengers witness the blatant lie. 2 minutes later, the white businessman from 1B uses the same restroom without issue. Bethany even holds his drink while he's gone. "This is getting ridiculous," the woman in 2C mutters, filming everything. The live stream audience explodes to 15,000 viewers. Comments flood faster than anyone can read. "Someone call a lawyer. This is the most obvious discrimination ever recorded. Skyline Airways is done. I'm canceling my flight with them right now." Derek emerges from the cockpit with Captain Reynolds, a stern man in his 50s with graying temples. They approach Jamal's seat like law enforcement officers. "Sir," Captain Reynolds begins, his voice carrying military authority, "we've received reports that you're being disruptive and making other passengers uncomfortable." Jamal looks up from his newspaper. He hasn't raised his voice once. "I've simply requested the services I paid for." "Well, we need to ensure the safety and comfort of all passengers," the captain continues. "Perhaps we can arrange for you to complete your journey in a more suitable section." "More suitable?" "We have available seats in our premium economy section. We'd be happy to accommodate you there with a full refund of the fare difference." The offer is insulting. Premium economy on a flight where he paid for first class. The entire cabin listens in stunned silence. "I'm comfortable in my assigned seat, thank you." Captain Reynolds exchanges glances with Derek. "Sir, if you're unwilling to cooperate, we may need to divert this aircraft to the nearest airport and have you removed by federal authorities." The threat sends shockwaves through first class. Divert an entire commercial flight because a black man asked for his meal? The woman live streaming nearly drops her phone. Did he just threaten to divert the plane over a meal request? Her viewer count hits 25,000. The algorithm is pushing this to feeds across the country. Passenger in 1B stands up. "Excuse me, Captain, but this gentleman hasn't done anything wrong. He's been nothing but polite." "Sir, please return to your seat. This doesn't concern you." "It concerns all of us. We've watched you refuse to serve him, question his credentials, and now threaten him with arrest. This is discrimination, plain and simple." Other passengers murmur agreement. The mood shifts. What started as uncomfortable witnessing became active support. Derek calls for backup on his radio. "We need gate security standing by in Atlanta. Potentially disruptive passenger." The radio crackles back. "Copy that. What's the nature of the disruption?" Derek pauses, realizing how his answer will sound. "Passenger requesting meal service." Even through the static, the gate agent's confusion is audible. "Come again? Did you say meal service?" "It's complicated. Just have security ready." The absurdity isn't lost on anyone. Airport security summoned because someone asked for food they paid for. Jamal's phone buzzes with another urgent text. "Emergency board meeting called for 2:30 p.m. Quarterly discrimination audit results critical. Your presence is essential." He types back. "Experiencing first-hand research opportunities. Data collection is invaluable." A second text arrives. "Sir, The legal department needs to discuss the 3.2M bias lawsuit settlement. Urgent approval required. Jamal glances at the text, then at Bethany hovering nearby. The irony is remarkable. The businessman in 1B isn't backing down. I'm recording this entire interaction. I have 50,000 LinkedIn followers, and this video is going online the moment we land. Sir, you're interfering with flight operations. I'm documenting discrimination. More passengers pull out phones. The entire first-class cabin becomes a documentary film set. Multiple angles capture every word, every gesture. Derek attempts damage control. Ladies and gentlemen, we ask that you respect passenger privacy and refrain from recording. Privacy? The woman in 2C laughs bitterly. You've been humiliating this man publicly for 2 hours. Privacy went out the window when you refused to serve him. The flight attendant training never covered this scenario. Social media documentation of systematic discrimination by multiple witnesses. Captain Reynolds retreats to radio air traffic control. Atlanta approach, Skyline 447. We may need a priority taxi to the gate. The passenger situation is developing. Nature of passenger situation, Skyline 447. Long pause. Meal service dispute. Air traffic control sounds confused. Meal service? Can you clarify? We'll brief you on arrival. The live stream reaches 40,000 viewers. Major news outlets start picking up the story. Skyline. Shame begins trending nationally. Comments pour in from verified accounts. At CNN needs to cover this right now. At Attorney General, this is federal civil rights violation. At Skyline, Airways, your stock is tanking. Bethany makes another critical error. She offers meal service to the passenger who boarded after Jamal A. last-minute first-class upgrade. Would you like our salmon or beef, sir? The optics are devastating. She's literally serving someone who boarded later while continuing to ignore Jamal. The businessman receiving service looks mortified. Actually, I think you should serve that gentleman first. He was here before me. Bethany's face hardens. We serve passengers based on our own protocols. What protocols? Racial profiling? The accusation hangs in recycled air. No one challenges it because everyone sees the truth. Jamal opens his briefcase slightly. Documents become visible. Skyline Airways Executive Committee minutes. Quarterly discrimination report. Federal compliance audit results. His Mont Blanc pen bears an engraved logo that matches the airline's corporate letterhead. Derek notices the paperwork but can't quite read the details from his angle. Something about it seems familiar, important. Jamal's phone rings again. This time he answers quietly. Washington. Sir, the board is convening early. Shareholders are concerned about the discrimination lawsuit settlements affecting Q4 earnings. I'm currently conducting field research on customer service standards. The findings are illuminating. He hangs up, catches Derek staring. Business call, Jamal explains calmly. Derek nods, but suspicion grows. The name Washington triggered something. Where has he heard that name recently? Flight time remaining, 45 minutes. The tension reaches a breaking point when Bethany announces final beverage service, and once again skips Jamal entirely. This time, half the first-class cabin erupts in protest. This is absolutely unacceptable! I'm never flying this airline again. Someone's getting sued into bankruptcy. The livestream audience peaks at 60,000 viewers. The story has reached critical mass. Jamal sits calmly through the chaos, occasionally checking his watch. His briefcase contains documents that would end this situation instantly. But he doesn't reach for them. Not yet. He's learning more about his company's culture in 2 hours than months of board meetings ever revealed. The data collection continues. Flight time remaining, 30 minutes to Atlanta. The chaos reaches a fever pitch. 60,000 people watch live as the flight crew threatens to divert a commercial aircraft over meal service. The story breaks into mainstream media feeds across the country. Derek's radio crackles with urgency from Atlanta ground control. Skyline 447, we're receiving social media reports about your flight. Corporate headquarters is requesting an immediate status update. Captain Reynolds' voice tightens with stress. Copy that. We'll provide details upon arrival. Negative. Skyline 447. Corporations are demanding answers now. They're receiving thousands of complaints per minute. The CEO's office is on high alert. The mention of the CEO makes Derek nervous. He glances at Jamal, who continues reading his newspaper with supernatural calm. The live stream audience explodes past 75,000 viewers. Skyline discrimination trends #1 nationally, ahead of breaking news and celebrity gossip. The algorithm pushes the video to millions of feeds. Comments flood from verified accounts across social media. At NAACP, this is exactly what systematic racism looks like. At Sharpton's TV, Al Sharpton, you need to see this right now. At Skyline, Airways, your stock is crashing harder than crypto. At Attorney General, federal civil rights violation happening live. News outlets pick up the story in real time. CNN's breaking news banner reads, Airline discrimination caught on live stream. MSNBC interrupts regular programming. Fox News alerts, ping across mobile devices nationwide. That's when Jamal decides the experiment has provided sufficient data for analysis. He closes his Financial Times slowly, deliberately, with the precision of a surgeon preparing for operation. Every movement is measured and calm. 65 passengers and 75,000 viewers watch as he reaches for his leather briefcase. The cabin falls silent except for the steady hum of jet engines at cruising altitude. Jamal opens the briefcase with surgical precision. Inside, documents are arranged in perfect organizational order. Official letterheads bearing corporate seals, executive signatures on cream-colored paper, board resolutions stamped with authentication marks. He selects a single document heavyweight stock with embossed headers that catch the cabin lighting. Mr. Derek, Jamal says quietly, his voice carrying an authority that cuts through tension like a blade. Could you come here for a moment, please? Something in his tone, calm, commanding, utterly confident, makes Derek approach without question. Captain Reynolds follows, drawn by curiosity and growing unease about the passenger who's remained mysteriously composed throughout this crisis. Jamal hands Derek the document with the ceremonial gravity of presenting credentials to foreign diplomats. Derek's eyes scan the header. Skyline Airways Board of Directors, Executive Committee. His face begins changing color as he processes what he's reading. Quarterly Performance Review, Department Heads and Senior Staff. Derek's hands start trembling as the implications sink in. Employee Conduct Evaluation Protocols and Disciplinary Actions. The document contains detailed procedures for handling discrimination complaints. Policies Derek helped violate systematically for the past 2 hours. At the bottom of the page, a signature line reads in bold lettering, Jamal Washington, Chief Executive Officer, Washington Holdings LLC, Parent Company, Skyline Airways. Derek's face drains completely white like blood retreating from a battlefield. The document slips from his fingers like a confession falling from nerveless hands. Captain Reynolds catches it mid-air, reads the same information with growing horror. His military composure built through decades of crisis management cracks visibly. Sir, Derek whispers, his voice barely audible above the engine noise. Are you saying you're... Jamal reaches into his briefcase again with deliberate showmanship. This time he removes his official Skyline Airways identification badge, the one issued exclusively to board members and C-suite executives. His photo, his title, his signature authority clearly displayed in corporate blue and gold. I'm Jamal Washington. I own 34% of this airline and serve as chief executive officer of its parent company. The words hit the cabin like explosive decompression. Bethany, who's been eavesdropping from the galley, drops an entire tray of crystal glasses. The crash echoes through first class like breaking bones. Shards scatter across expensive carpeting. Derek stumbles backward, nearly falling into a passenger seat, his worldview crumbling in real time. Captain Reynolds stares at the ID badge like it might be an elaborate forgery or fever dream. The live stream explodes into digital chaos. 75,000 viewers become 120,000 in 30 seconds. Comments move faster than human comprehension. Holy esh, he owns the entire airline. Plot twist of the freaking century. Those employees are so dead. Best live stream in internet history. I'm crying laughing at their faces. Jamal calmly retrieves another document, the quarterly board meeting minutes from last month's executive session. His signature appears on 17 different resolutions, including employee conduct policies, discrimination protocols, and federal compliance measures. According to these minutes, Jamal says conversationally, as if discussing weather patterns, the board allocated $2.8 million this quarter specifically for bias prevention training programs. We also approved zero-tolerance policies for discrimination incidents, with immediate termination as the standard consequence. Derek's legs give out completely. He slumps into the nearest empty seat like a marionette with severed strings. Bethany emerges from the galley, her face a mask of absolute terror. She's just spent 2 hours systematically discriminating against the man who literally signs her paychecks and has the authority to end her career with a single phone call. "Mr. Washington," she stammers, words tumbling over each other. We didn't know. Please, I can explain." "That's precisely the problem, Ms. Patterson," Jamal replies with clinical calm. "Your behavior shouldn't change based on who I am or what I look like. Every passenger deserves dignity and respect, regardless of their race, perceived economic status, or position in corporate hierarchies." Captain Reynolds finds his voice, though it comes out strained. "Sir, I sincerely apologize. This is completely unprecedented in my 20-year career." "Is it unprecedented?" Jamal asks, raising an eyebrow. "Or is this exactly what happens to black passengers regularly, but without cameras, witnesses, and social media amplification?" The question hangs heavy in the pressurized cabin air like toxic gas. Jamal pulls out his phone, opens the Skyline Airways executive application software that only C-suite executives can access. With a few practiced taps, he navigates to the company's real-time discrimination complaint database. In the past 6 months, we've received 247 formal complaints alleging racial bias in service delivery across our route network. The legal department settles these quietly through non-disclosure agreements to avoid negative publicity. Last quarter alone, discrimination settlements cost shareholders $3.2 million. He scrolls through data that Derek and Captain Reynolds have never seen, classified information that reveals the true scope of the company's bias problems. Our customer satisfaction scores among black passengers are 23% lower than our overall average. Our retention rate in that demographic has dropped 31% year over year. We're hemorrhaging customers and revenue due to systematic discrimination. The numbers are financially devastating. A company bleeding money and reputation due to preventable bias incidents. Derek stares at the data, finally understanding that he's been part of a pattern much larger than individual incidents, a system that costs millions and destroys lives. "The Federal Department of Transportation opened a formal investigation into our practices 8 weeks ago," Jamal continues, his voice gaining edge. "They're reviewing compliance with Title VI of the Civil Rights Act. Poor performance ratings could result in federal contract losses worth $180 million annually." Captain Reynolds understands airline economics intimately. Those numbers represent thousands of jobs, route cancellations, and potential bankruptcy proceedings. Bethany finally grasps the true magnitude of her situation. She's not just facing termination, she's potentially contributed to federal violations that threaten the entire company's existence. "Mr. Washington," she whispers, tears forming like morning dew. "Please, I have student loans, my mother's medical bills, my daughter's college tuition." Jamal studies her with the calm assessment of a judge reviewing evidence. "Ms. Patterson, according to your employee file, which I can access from this application, you've been with Skyline for 4 years. Your performance reviews consistently mention professional demeanor and excellent customer service skills." Bethany nods frantically, grasping at any hope for redemption. "Yet today, you systematically violated every principle of professional conduct we supposedly trained you to uphold. You denied meal service to a paying customer based solely on racial assumptions. You fabricated lies about restroom availability. You threatened security intervention over completely legitimate service requests." Each accusation lands like a physical blow, precise and devastating. "Your actions were recorded by multiple witnesses and broadcast to over 100,000 viewers in real time across social media platforms. This incident will become a textbook case study in corporate discrimination for business schools nationwide." The live stream reaches 150,000 viewers and climbing. Major news outlets are now covering the story with breaking news banners. Hashtag Skyline owner trends globally, reaching audiences in 12 countries. Derek attempts desperate damage control. "Sir, we can absolutely address this internally. Private disciplinary measures, additional sensitivity training, formal apologies." "Mr. Stevens," Jamal interrupts, using Derek's last name with deliberate corporate formality, "this situation stopped being internal the moment it was broadcast to half the country on social media platforms." He shows his phone screen dozens of news notifications flooding in like digital rain. CNN, MSNBC, Fox News, NPR, BBC, Reuters. Every major domestic and international outlet is covering the story. Skyline Airways' stock price has dropped 11% in the past hour. Our social media mentions are 96% negative across all platforms. Corporate communications received over 15,000 complaint calls before they stopped counting and activated crisis management protocols. The business impact is absolutely catastrophic, the kind that ends careers and bankrupts companies. Captain Reynolds makes one final desperate attempt at salvaging the situation. "Mr. Washington, what can we do to resolve this crisis? How do we move forward from here? What does the company need from us?" Jamal considers the question carefully, methodically. In his briefcase, he has termination paperwork that could end all their careers instantly. Union contracts that allow immediate dismissal for discrimination violations. Federal reporting requirements that could trigger Department of Justice investigations. But he also recognizes an opportunity for something more valuable than simple revenge. "Captain, you asked how we move forward. Here's my proposal. We use this incident as a comprehensive teaching moment. For your crew, for our company, for the entire transportation industry." He pauses, allowing the words to penetrate their panic. "You have a choice before you. Accept full responsibility, participate in meaningful systemic reform, and help us build better operational systems. Or face the complete legal and professional consequences of federal civil rights violations." The ultimatum is clear but not unnecessarily cruel. Justice tempered with genuine possibility for redemption and growth. Derek and Bethany exchange desperate glances across the aisle. Their entire careers, their families' financial security, hang in the balance of the next few minutes. Captain Reynolds checks his watch with military precision. 15 minutes to landing approach, sir." "Then you have exactly 15 minutes to decide the trajectory of your professional futures," Jamal says quietly, his voice carrying the weight of corporate authority. The live stream audience watches 150,000 strong as the most dramatic employment negotiation in commercial aviation history unfolds at 35,000 feet above the American South. Flight time remaining, 12 minutes to landing. The cabin air becomes electric with tension as 3 careers hang in the balance. Derek wipes sweat from his forehead despite the cool cabin temperature. Bethany clutches the galley counter like a lifeline. Captain Reynolds maintains military posture, but his hands shake slightly. Jamal opens his executive application, revealing layers of corporate data that paint a devastating picture of systematic discrimination across the airline industry. "Let me show you the financial reality of what just occurred," Jamal begins, his voice carrying the authority of boardroom presentations that decide millions in budget allocations. He displays a comprehensive dashboard showing real-time metrics. Skyline Airways processes 847,000 passengers monthly across our route network. Our current discrimination incident rate is 2.3 cases per 1,000 black passengers, nearly 4 times the industry average. Derek stares at numbers he's never seen before, realizing the scope of problems he helped create. Each discrimination lawsuit settlement averages $47,000 in direct costs, plus $23,000 in legal fees, plus immeasurable reputational damage. This single incident recorded and broadcast live could cost the company between $2.8 and $4.7 million in settlements, depending on how many passengers file claims. Captain Reynolds understands those numbers represent his annual salary multiplied by 30. But the real cost is systemic, Jamal continues, scrolling through quarterly reports. We lose approximately 340 black customers permanently for every discrimination incident. Their lifetime value averages $8,400 per customer in revenue across connecting flights, hotel partnerships, and car rental commissions. The mathematics are brutal. One incident equals $2.8 million in lost revenue over 5 years. Federal compliance adds another layer of risk. The Department of Transportation's investigation could result in sanctions ranging from $25,000 to $250,000 per violation under Title VI of the Civil Rights Act. Today's incident, with video evidence and multiple witnesses, represents a clear violation. Bethany's face grows paler as she realizes the federal implications of her actions. Jamal accesses employee contract databases with executive privileges. "Now let's discuss your employment agreements and the consequences you're facing." Derek's personnel file appears on screen. "Mr. Stevens, your supervisor-level contract includes Section 4.7, Conduct Unbecoming. The clause specifically mentions discrimination as grounds for immediate termination without severance benefits. Derek's 20-year pension worth $340,000 in accumulated benefits could disappear instantly. Your union agreement with the Flight Attendants Union Local 447 includes similar language. Discrimination violations void job protection clauses and eliminate eligibility for unemployment benefits. The legal framework traps them completely. No safety net exists for discriminatory conduct. Ms. Patterson, your situation is particularly complex. As the primary actor in this incident, you face potential criminal charges under federal hate crime statutes, in addition to civil liability. Bethany's knees buckle. Criminal charges mean permanent records, impossible employment prospects, financial ruin. The passengers recording this incident have legal standing to file Section 1983 civil rights lawsuits seeking punitive damages. Given the viral nature of this video, now approaching 200,000 views, publicity amplifies potential damage awards. The live stream continues growing. Comments flood faster than servers can process. "Lawsuit incoming. My lawyer cousin is taking notes. Civil rights violation 101. Bankruptcy speed run." Jamal displays federal compliance requirements on his screen. The airline industry operates under strict federal oversight. The Department of Transportation requires discrimination incident reporting within 48 hours of occurrence. Captain Reynolds realizes they're approaching multiple federal deadlines simultaneously. Failure to report incidents properly results in automatic investigations, potential route licensing reviews, and federal contract suspensions. Skyline holds $180 million in government contracts for military personnel transport and federal employee travel. The stakes extend far beyond individual careers to company survival. Additionally, the Federal Aviation Administration requires crew members to maintain good moral character for licensing purposes. Discrimination violations trigger mandatory character reviews that can result in permanent flight certification revocation. Derek's pilot credentials earned through decades of training and experience could be permanently revoked. Jamal shifts to union implications. Your collective bargaining agreements include just cause provisions for termination. Discrimination against passengers constitutes just cause under federal labor law, making union protection unavailable. The union cannot save them from federal civil rights violations. However, Jamal pauses, his tone shifting slightly. I'm not interested in destroying lives unnecessarily. I'm interested in systemic change that prevents future incidents. A glimmer of hope enters Derek's desperate expression. Here's my proposal. You can choose immediate resignation with full severance packages intact, plus participation in a comprehensive industry-wide bias prevention program I'm developing. The offer includes financial protection they don't deserve but might accept. The alternative is termination for cause, which voids all benefits, creates permanent employment records, triggers federal investigations, and likely results in industry-wide blacklisting. The choice is stark but fair. Ms. Patterson, your path to redemption includes 6 months of unpaid bias counseling, 200 hours of community service with civil rights organizations, and public testimony in our discrimination prevention training videos. Personal accountability combined with educational value. Mr. Stevens, your role as supervisor carries additional responsibility. You'll lead our new crew sensitivity training program, working directly with the NAACP and other civil rights organizations to develop industry-standard protocols. Transformation of the problem into part of the solution. Captain Reynolds, your military background makes you ideal for implementing systematic operational changes. You'll oversee the development of passenger dignity protocols across our entire fleet. Bond study beat on leadership accountability channeled into positive reform. The live stream audience watches 180,000 strong as corporate justice unfolds in real time. Comments reflect amazement at the balance between accountability and redemption. This is how you handle discrimination. Accountability with humanity. Teach, don't destroy. Leadership Masterclass. Derek finds his voice first. Mr. Washington, your offer is more generous than we deserve. We accept full responsibility and commit to whatever changes you require. Bethany nods frantically through tears. Sir, I'll do anything to make this right. I'm ashamed of my behavior and want to learn how to be better. Captain Reynolds speaks with military precision. Mr. Washington, we failed completely today. We'll implement whatever systemic changes prevent future incidents. Jamal nods approvingly. Excellent. Your resignations will be effective immediately upon landing. Severance packages will be processed within 48 hours. Your new roles in our bias prevention program begin Monday morning. He accesses termination paperwork on his executive app, pre-filled with their information. These documents formalize your voluntary resignations and outline your participation in remedial programs. Electronic signatures capture their commitments legally. The incident will be reported to federal authorities as required by law, but your cooperation and participation in reforms will be noted in all documentation. Compliance with federal requirements while protecting their futures. Additionally, Skyline Airways will issue a public statement acknowledging the incident, accepting responsibility, and outlining the comprehensive reforms we're implementing industry-wide. Corporate accountability without individual destruction. The plane begins its descent into Atlanta. Ladies and gentlemen, we're beginning our final approach. Please prepare for landing. The timing is perfect. Crisis resolved, justice served, reforms initiated, all before touchdown. The live stream reaches 220,000 viewers as the most watched employment resolution in social media history concludes with systemic change instead of simple revenge. Jamal closes his briefcase with satisfaction. Real change always proves more valuable than temporary punishment. Touchdown at Hartsfield-Jackson, Atlanta International Airport. The aircraft wheels touch the runway as the most-watched discrimination case in airline history concludes with systematic reform instead of vindictive destruction. The live stream reaches 250,000 viewers worldwide, with major news networks preparing breaking coverage of corporate accountability done right. Derek, Bethany, and Captain Reynolds sit in stunned silence as their professional lives transform completely within the span of a 2-hour flight. Their discriminatory actions have led not to career destruction, but to an unprecedented opportunity for personal growth and industry-wide change. As passengers disembark, Jamal remains seated, finalizing implementation details on his phone. His calm demeanor throughout the crisis has impressed business leaders watching the live stream. Comments flood with praise for his measured response. Leadership Masterclass in Crisis Management. This is how you change systems, not just punish people. Accountability with dignity, revolutionary. Every CEO should study this approach. Within 30 minutes of landing, Skyline Airways' Corporate Communications Department releases a comprehensive public statement drafted by Jamal during the flight's final descent. Skyline Airways acknowledges a serious discrimination incident occurred on Flight 447 today. Our CEO witnessed firsthand the systematic bias that violates our core values and federal law. We accept full responsibility and announce immediate comprehensive reforms to ensure this never happens again. The statement continues with specific commitments that set new industry standards. Effective immediately, Skyline implements the Dignity First initiative, a comprehensive program ensuring equal treatment for all passengers regardless of race, ethnicity, or perceived economic status. This includes real-time bias monitoring, mandatory monthly sensitivity training, and a passenger dignity app for immediate discrimination reporting. Social media responds positively to transparency. Had dignity. First begins trending as other airlines announce similar policy reviews. The incident becomes a catalyst for industry-wide transformation rather than isolated punishment. Derek's resignation becomes effective at 4:47 p.m. EST. By 5:30 p.m., he's enrolled in the bias prevention training program that will reshape his worldview. His 20-year pension remains intact, and his new role as head of crew sensitivity training offers purpose beyond simple employment. I've spent 2 decades in aviation, Derek tells his wife that evening. Today I learned I've been part of a problem I didn't even recognize. Mr. Washington gave me a chance to become part of the solution instead of just ending my career. Bethany's transformation proves equally profound. Her 6-month bias counseling program begins immediately with Dr. Angela Williams, a renowned psychologist specializing in unconscious prejudice. The woman who served meals based on skin color will spend 200 hours working with communities she previously stereotyped. I thought I wasn't racist because I never used slurs or joined hate groups, Bethany reflects during her first counseling session. Today I learned that discrimination doesn't require hatred, just assumptions based on appearance. Mr. Washington taught me the difference between intent and impact. Captain Reynolds' military background proves invaluable in implementing systematic operational changes. His new role overseeing passenger dignity protocols across Skyline's 340 aircraft fleet represents the largest anti-bias initiative in commercial aviation history. In the military, we learned that excellent leaders take responsibility for failures and use them to build better systems, Captain Reynolds explains to his flight crew later that week. Today showed me how unconscious bias undermines the professionalism we pride ourselves on maintaining. The Federal Department of Transportation receives Skyline's incident report within the required 48-hour window, along with comprehensive reform plans that exceed federal compliance requirements. The DOT investigation, initially triggered by social media coverage, transforms into a collaborative partnership for developing industry-wide standards. Skyline's stock price, which dropped 11% during the live stream, recovers completely within 72 hours, as investors recognize the long-term value of proactive bias prevention. The company's transparency and reform commitment attract new customers from competitors with poor discrimination records. Dr. Patricia Williams from Columbia Law School contacts Jamal personally to develop a case study for her civil rights law curriculum. This incident demonstrates how leadership can transform a crisis into lasting change, she explains. Your approach balances accountability with redemption in ways that create systematic improvement. Harvard Business School adds the incident to their executive leadership program under the title Crisis Management Through Transformational Justice. The case study examines how Jamal's measured response achieved better outcomes than traditional punitive approaches. The bias prevention technology implemented by Skyline becomes a model for other service industries. Hotels, restaurants, and retail chains request consultations on implementing similar real-time discrimination monitoring systems. Within 6 months, Skyline's discrimination complaints dropped 78% across all demographic categories. Customer satisfaction among Black passengers increases by 41%, while overall service ratings reach company record highs. The investment in dignity proves profitable as well as ethical. The 3 former crew members become powerful advocates for bias prevention throughout the transportation industry. Their public testimony and training videos reaches over 2 million airline employees worldwide, creating culture change that extends far beyond Skyline Airways. Derek's crew sensitivity training program became mandatory for all major airlines after a Federal Aviation Administration review. His personal transformation from unconscious discriminator to bias prevention expert demonstrates the power of redemptive justice over simple punishment. Bethany's community service work with civil rights organizations provides direct impact on communities affected by discrimination. Her 200 hours of service multiply into ongoing volunteer commitment that continues years after her formal obligation ends. Captain Reynolds's passenger dignity protocols are adopted industry-wide through International Air Transport Association recommendations. His systematic approach to bias prevention became the global standard for commercial aviation operations. The live stream video, permanently archived on YouTube, receives over 5 million views within 1 year. It becomes required viewing in business schools, civil rights training programs, and corporate diversity initiatives worldwide. Comments on the video consistently praise Jamal's approach. This is what real leadership looks like. Transformation over punishment every time. How to change hearts and systems. Justice with wisdom and humanity. 6 months after the incident, Jamal received the NAACP's Corporate Leadership Award for his innovative approach to addressing discrimination. His acceptance speech emphasizes systematic change over individual blame. True justice doesn't just punish bias. It prevents future discrimination by transforming systems and changing hearts. When we choose education over execution, we create lasting change that protects countless future victims. The incident proves that Black stories of discrimination don't have to end in bitterness or revenge. Sometimes the most touching stories emerge when dignity meets power and chooses transformation over destruction. Real-life stories of discrimination often end in frustration and legal battles. This life story demonstrates an alternative path where accountability creates opportunity for growth rather than just consequences for failure. The legacy continues growing as other industries adopt Skyline's approach to bias prevention, proving that systematic change scales beyond individual incidents to create cultural transformation. 1 year later, the ripple effect of quiet power. The impact of Flight 447 extends far beyond a single airline incident. Jamal Washington's measured response to discrimination has fundamentally transformed how American corporations address bias in the workplace and customer service environments. Skyline Airways has become the gold standard for anti-discrimination practices in the transportation industry. The company's Dignity First initiative has been implemented across 847 aircraft, training over 12,000 employees in bias prevention protocols that prioritize human dignity over corporate convenience. Customer satisfaction scores reach historic highs across all demographic categories. The airline's commitment to equality attracts diverse travelers who previously avoided flying due to discrimination concerns. Revenue increases by 23% as word-of-mouth recommendations from minority communities drive unprecedented business growth. Derek Stevens, now Director of Crew Sensitivity Training, has personally trained over 8,000 airline employees across 14 different carriers. His transformation from unconscious discriminator to bias prevention expert demonstrates the power of redemptive justice over punitive destruction. "A year ago, I didn't even recognize my own prejudices," Derek reflects during a training session with American Airlines crew members. "Mr. Washington could have destroyed my career. Instead, he gave me a purpose I never knew I needed." Bethany Patterson completes her bias counseling program and continues volunteering with civil rights organizations. Her 200 hours of required community service expanded into 800 hours of ongoing commitment to racial justice advocacy. "I used to serve meals based on assumptions about who belonged where," Bethany shares in a viral TED Talk that receives 2.3 million views. "Now I serve justice by helping others recognize unconscious bias before it harms innocent people." Captain Reynolds's passenger dignity protocols are adopted by the International Air Transport Association as global industry standards. His systematic approach to bias prevention now protects millions of travelers worldwide from discrimination during commercial flights. The Federal Department of Transportation cites Skyline's transformation as a model for regulatory compliance, leading to partnerships with other major airlines implementing similar comprehensive bias prevention programs. Dr. Angela Williams, the psychologist who counseled Bethany, reports that discrimination incidents across her client airlines have decreased by 67% since implementing Skyline-inspired training programs. The ripple effect reaches beyond aviation into hospitality, retail, and service industries nationwide. Harvard Business School's case study on the incident becomes a required curriculum for MBA students studying crisis management and corporate social responsibility. Professor David Brooks explains its significance. This case demonstrates how authentic leadership can transform potential disasters into opportunities for systematic, positive change. The original live stream video, now viewed over 8.5 million times, continues generating discussions about power, privilege, and the choice between revenge and redemption. Comments remain overwhelmingly positive about Jamal's approach. Still the best example of leadership under pressure. This man changed an entire industry with quiet dignity. How to use power responsibly. Masterclass. Proof that transformation beats punishment every time. Major corporations across industries request consultations on implementing similar bias prevention protocols. Jamal's approach influences policy changes at Fortune 500 companies, creating safer, more inclusive environments for employees and customers of all backgrounds. The incident spawns a documentary film, Dignity at 35,000 Feet, which wins the NAACP Image Award for Outstanding Documentary. The film follows the three crew members' transformation journeys and highlights systematic changes that prevent future discrimination incidents. Jamal establishes the First Class Dignity Foundation, providing scholarships for young Black professionals pursuing careers in aviation, hospitality, and transportation industries. The foundation's mission ensures diverse representation in industries historically plagued by discrimination. True power isn't about humiliating those who wrong you, Jamal explains during his foundation's inaugural scholarship ceremony. It's about using your position to ensure dignity becomes standard practice, not a privilege earned through wealth or status. His philosophy of transformational justice influences civil rights advocacy nationwide. Organizations adopt his model of accountability paired with redemption, achieving better outcomes than traditional punitive approaches. The three former Skyline employees received the Southern Poverty Law Center's Courage to Change Award for their commitment to bias prevention education. Their willingness to transform personal failures into community service inspires others facing similar reckonings with unconscious prejudice. Social media celebrates the anniversary of the incident with hashtag flight to justice, hashtag trending globally. Users share personal stories of discrimination and highlight positive changes in customer service across various industries. These touching stories remind us that real-life stories of bias don't have to end in bitterness. Sometimes the most powerful Black stories emerge when dignity confronts discrimination and chooses education over execution. The legacy continues growing as Jamal's approach influences legislation. The proposed Equal Service Protection Act incorporates Skyline's bias prevention protocols into federal requirements for companies receiving government contracts. Universities nationwide integrate the incident into their civil rights curricula, ensuring future business leaders understand the power of measured responses to discrimination. The case study reaches students in over 200 institutions across 12 countries. Personal reflection and universal message. Flight 447 proves that individual actions create waves of change extending far beyond single moments of crisis. When power meets prejudice, the choice between punishment and transformation determines whether justice creates lasting impact or temporary satisfaction. Jamal's quiet strength in the face of humiliation demonstrates that true leadership doesn't require dramatic gestures or public shaming. Sometimes the most profound change happens when dignity responds to discrimination with wisdom rather than wrath. The incident reminds us that every person possesses the power to choose their response to injustice. Whether we're witnessing discrimination, experiencing bias, or confronting our own prejudices, we can select approaches that heal rather than harm, that educate rather than eliminate. Your voice matters. Join the movement. Have you witnessed discrimination in your daily life? Have you experienced bias that made you feel unwelcome in spaces where you belonged? Your story matters, and your voice can contribute to the systematic change that protects others from similar experiences. Share your encounters with bias in the comments below. Whether you've been the victim, the witness, or even the person who realized their own unconscious prejudices, your experience adds to our collective understanding of how discrimination operates and how it can be prevented. Subscribe to Black Tales Stories for more accounts of quiet strength overcoming systematic bias. Hit the notification bell to never miss stories that prove dignity and intelligence defeat prejudice every time, creating lasting change rather than temporary victories. Together, we're building a community of changemakers who understand that justice works best when it transforms systems instead of just punishing individuals. Every comment, every share, every conversation helps create a world where dignity becomes standard practice for everyone. Your story could be the catalyst for someone else's transformation. Share it, and let's continue changing hearts and systems, one story at a time.